Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour, where we are presented this week by Fantasy Points Media Group. Make sure you check out fantasypoints.com, all sorts of early bird specials for the 2022 season. And that's what we're going to start talking about is 2022. It is officially Dynasty season. We kicked it off last week with quarterbacks and talking about Superflex ADP, buy, sell, holds. And we're back again at it this week. We're going to talk about the most polarizing position in all of fantasy football. You love them, you hate them. It's the fantasy football running backs. And we're going to go over our January ADP provided to us by Dynasty League Football. So thank you to Ryan and the crew out there for your lovely website and data. But before we do all that, James, how you doing?
How you doing? I'm all right. How you doing up there in the north, Doug?
Hey, I just went hiking in negative 14-degree weather, and it was, Tyler and our friend
we
Dame
we call that walking to your car.
Pretty much. And, I was out there for like 40-ish minutes, and my thighs started to be really frozen. And but other than that, it was fun. It was good. But yeah, negative 14, and then it got to like 8 degrees on the day, and I was out there. I wanted to be out there in shorts and a cutoff because it felt like a heat wave.
No, I would definitely not be caught dead hiking in negative below zero weather ever.
It wasn't that bad.
No,
it wasn't windy. It wasn't windy. There was no wind.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
That's the big difference is when it's windy. But yeah, it's been cold up here. I forgot to cover my grill the other day, and we got a bunch of snow last night, so my grill was covered. But you know what? The best part about it is I dusted it off. I took my grill cleaner. I put some snow on that thing. Look at that. You got some water. The grill cleaner, the grate is just like sparkling brand new.
It's like Mother Nature just giving you a helping hand. That's what it's all about.
Right.
And speaking of giving you a helping hand, you can go on trophysmack.com. Your league's wrapped up for 2021. You've been a lazy commish, like the holidays have come, like maybe you're putting it off, work's been busy, maybe you got the Rona like me, and you're just like, you know what? Like I don't feel like it right now. Well, now's your chance to make right with your league and go on trophysmack.com, get a championship trophy, a belt, a grill if you're gangsta, just saying, and use code DHHRing to get yourself a $60 value championship ring. And it's not a cheap ring. This is a high quality, like brass knucks type of ring. Like you punch someone with that, something it's going to hurt. So make sure you go on the trophysmack.com, use code DHHRing today. Get your league, your trophy, and save yourself a little bit, get a little freebie, a little money. That's what's that. All right, so let's talk running backs. I'm ready. This is going to be interesting. So as you can probably all figure, we know who the RB1 is. And as of right now, he is the number one player in January startup ADP, not just at running back. He is the number one. And what have we always said, Tyler? And I know we've always said once a running back reaches the number one overall, you should sell. I disagree on this so far. Maybe in a year or two, maybe we can circle back to it. But it's Jonathan Taylor who had the outstanding season, led the league in rushing touchdowns, finally got the backfield to himself after sharing it in 2020. So Taylor's the 101. So I'm going to go to Tyler first on this one because I know he's one of the more, what's I going to say? Like he sticks to his guns like, oh, Taylor's the 101, time to go type of mentality. So Tyler, give me your view here on Taylor now that he is the official 101 in startups.
So my favorite part about this is everybody after home improvement was like, you're going to be nothing. And look where he's at now. He's the RB1 in Dynasty. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, congratulations. You made it past acting. You got over that.
Wasn't he in a movie with the monkey once?
I think he was also with Tim Allen in a movie like Jungle to Jungle.
Yes, Jungle to Jungle.
Classic.
I remember that. I rented that at Video Update on VHS. Go me. I'm hashtag old. Thanks, guys.
Hashtag like maybe 50% of people will get that. For Jonathan Taylor, for me, it's all the route you're going. Like if we're talking startup and you want to build kind of for tomorrow, you say you go the productive struggle. I would hit wide receiver. I would go Jamar Chase, somebody like that. I'd go wide receiver, maybe trade back if you're going to start up. But you know what? If you're a team that's going for it now, Taylor's probably got 3 solid years in him still. I mean, the 101's right there. And if you want to go for it and you're like, okay, year 1, I'm hitting it hard. I'm getting this belt. I'm getting the title. I'm getting my trophy smack ring and belt. Year 1. Let's go. I'm going Taylor. And even in Superflex, like if we're talking Superflex, where do you think Taylor should go?
Oh, God.
I mean, Herbert, Mahomes,
Allen.
He's inside the top 12 to make it easy.
I would say top 5 personally.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I could see that.
Because with how deep quarterbacks are, I mean, we talked about it last week. You can go back and listen. But Jonathan Taylor, you get that RB1 right away. I mean, you're good to go. You don't need to worry about it for a little bit. You can kind of ease back on your RB2, maybe get a rookie, maybe go somebody else that we'll talk about. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's all team dependent. Say you are a rebuild and you have Taylor, like you just sucked. You got unlucky, you sucked, you have Taylor, and you just feel like your team's not there with all the other teams. I mean, you could get everything for Taylor. You can get a 2023 first, a 2022 first, and a stud at receiver, and you can get that for Taylor. And that's not a bad option for me if you are rebuilding, because man, that 2023 class for running back looks like a 2017, a 2020 type class. Yeah. So if you are rebuilding, it might not be a bad idea to look, but Taylor's not going to lose value. I think we can all agree. So you're fine holding if you need to.
Yeah, James, what do you think about JT in the?
I mean, I can't disagree with anything you guys said. He deserves to be the 101 for ADP in startups. Rightfully so. I mean, over 300 attempts this season, 1,800 yards. I don't see it slowing down. Only 23 years old. Yep. I can see that. Just like
wait,
Tyler
that's
said.
Carson Wentz music.
I mean, just for the next 2 years, rather, I think he's got a solid top chance of being the 101 for a while. I don't see that changing. I don't see anybody coming up and taking his spot. Like, he deserves it. Like, we all predicted that he was going to be one of the best running backs that we've seen since Saquon Barkley pretty much entered the league. So, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with anything about the 101 of Jonathan Taylor.
There's maybe 2 people that can compete for it, and it's the next 2 on the list. That's probably it. If I would say competition, especially with their involvement in the pass catching, well, I mean, we'll talk about them, but that is probably the only 2 that I could see sniffing or scratching the surface of trying to claw their way to 101.
Fair enough. So let's move on to the second running back on this list, and his ADP in startups is officially the 104. This one is a polarizing one for me because I see this player's potential and ceiling being awesome, but it's, he plays for a bad team. He's got some pieces around him that'll siphon off some targets. He wasn't the healthiest this year. Caught a ton of passes, which was great. But it's Deandre Swift. He's the RB2 right now. I know, Tyler, this has been your guy for quite a while. You own Swift on a lot of teams. To me, I think you're at this drafting him 4th overall in a startup. I think you're already taking him at his ceiling, and that scares the hell out of me, to be quite honest. So I want to go to James on this one because I already kind of know where Tyler thinks about Swift. So James, give me the dealio on Swift here.
To draft him this high is a big question mark because, like you said, that would be pretty much at his ceiling, number 2 running back overall. I'm not buying that he stays that high throughout the rest of next season. They are rebuilding in Detroit. How much are they going to use him? Are they going to burn him to the ground, like run him down, burn out the tires? I know Tyler's shaking his head, but they could. They very much could, and
they don't seem they want to, though.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, the passing game is great, but I think his ceiling's like an Austin Eckler, which isn't bad, but I don't see
RB2.
I don't see him. I don't see him competing against Jonathan Taylor in any sense.
But for me, it's the age, the draft capital. And I think the team wants him to be
a second round running back. Draft capital for second round running backs
is like a first round. I mean,
it doesn't hit the same.
If you listen to Ray and his podcast, and he hits the nail on the head. The NFL has switched. They realize running backs are running backs. So when they draft a running back in the early second, it's saying a lot. Like they're saying this is a first round running back. We just know all the other teams don't value running backs, so they fall. Same reason for Taylor. Taylor was a second round pick. I mean, if we're talking players that were drafted in the second round, I mean, Taylor was how many picks ahead of Swift?
Not many picks behind Hilaire.
Like 5. So I mean, that's the thing. If we're talking running backs, if they do get first round value, it's either a team reached or they mean a lot to that offense. Like we'll talk about the next guy, but Deandre Swift to me, age, his involvement in the passing game, I think he has longevity, which is nice for running back because you get a guy that's pounding it between the tackles, and they don't last as long. I mean, it's a 3-year type thing for their prime. Then you got to look at, are they in that second contract? Is it worth the second contract? And should I ship them off before their second contract comes? Deandre Swift, to me, I think is cemented where he is. You saw that they wanted to use him as not quite a bell cow, but just below. They want to get him 5 to 6 catches.
Like a sleigh bell cow?
15 carries. Yeah,
he's just jingling and jangling down the field.
But to me, Swift, his explosiveness, I mean, if we compare him to Alvin Kamara in a way, and I think that's a perfect comp. Alvin Kamara has spent a ton of years up top here in the RB top 5 RBs. We don't see him there anymore. We'll talk about him. But yeah, I mean, Swift, to me, he deserves to be in the top 5 conversation in a non-super flex. And I think that's perfect. And he'll be there for a while.
On this one, let's do a quick little ring around the rosy here. Buy, sell, hold. For me, he's a sell at this point. I don't think he's ever going to reach in real life fantasy football. I don't think he's ever going to be a number 2 running back on the season type of season. I think he'll be a solid between like top 5 to 10 guy, but I don't think he's ever going to realize the ADP that he's at now. So I have him as a sell.
And I will go with you on that as a sell. And like you said, Alvin Kamara comp was great. And we never put Alvin Kamara really higher than 5 overall, just because of his competition.
I mean,
he always had Christian McCaffrey. He always had Dalvin Cook neck and neck with them. We had Barkley in there in that same conversation. And Deandre Swift, I think he is a sell right now because a lot of people want him, especially if you've seen this list. Check out DLF. And that's pretty much where I'm at with it.
Okay. And we know Tyler is probably a hold, right?
I'm a hold, but
Tyler's buying right now.
All these players that we're talking about, they're running backs, all team dependent. If you have any of these guys we're going to talk about and you're rebuilding, ship them because these guys won't be relevant by the time you are actually competing, in my opinion.
Right.
And wide receivers, longevity. Heck, I'd even have Kyle Pitts ahead of DeAndre Swift if we're going tight end premium. So
yeah, I think running back is definitely when it comes to if you're competing or you're not competing, and if they're their most valuable asset, but it can bring you stuff to help you rebuild, and that's the one position where it's the most glaring to do so. So let's go to our number 3 running back on this list.
Makers. No, I'm kidding.
I wish. Too many fumbles. So our number 7 overall player in January startup ADP is Naji Harris. Now we saw him come in, have a really good rookie season. He broke Franco Harris's rookie rushing record for the Pittsburgh Steelers, did some work in the receiving game, all behind a really bad offensive line with a broken down quarterback. So again, I think this is he handled over 300 touches in his rookie year, which we all thought he was going to do. Mm-hmm. He's got draft capital, like Tyler was talking about earlier, drafted in the first round. I've liked what I've seen out of Naji Harris this year. And again, I think here's a player that finished as the RB4?
RB3.
Yep. RB3. So right one of his ADP. And I think there's room to grow for Harris, even without Big Ben around because he was hot trash, let's be completely honest, and a better offensive line. So
that was nice of you to say. I mean, that was really speaking highly of him.
No, yeah. I mean, I could have called him a flaming bucket of crap, but I didn't.
That's still pretty nice. But
hot trash is pretty nice. So Tyler, I'm going to go to you on this one with Naji. RB3, 7th overall. How are you feeling about that?
fine. Like you said, it's mainly about the offense. You don't know who's going to be at quarterback. There's rumors they're happy with Haskins or Rudolph, which if that's the case,
they're not going to push for. It's the Steelers. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Man, this one's tough. But my favorite thing I was looking at, I'm watching quarterbacks, and the Malik Willis, who I feel like would be a good fit for them later on in the first.
What you talking about, Willis?
He's actually turned into my quarterback 1 because there's absolutely no upside to this quarterback class but this man. And Malik Willis, we'll really dig deep into him later on, in March. But if he was in this offense, he has the mentality of dropping it off to the running back. And if they can get a quarterback that has that mentality, I mean, Najee's going to be just fine. I think he had 74 catches this year, but like 300 yards. It was hardly any yards.
They were minimal. Yeah. They were short checkdowns. It was like the, what's the old Jarvis Landry or the new Rondale Moore, like 5 catches for 25 yards.
Like Jarvis is like, hey, I'm not as bad as Rondale. And Rondale's like, hey, I'm not as bad as Najee. So that's pretty much where Najee was at. He's going to be 24 come season. So he's a little ancient. Older. He's a little older at running back, but hey, you only need him for another 3 or 4 years. So once again, Najee's going to be just fine. They've got to get better offensive line because you know what, Doug, we talked about last week, can't get much worse. So the offensive line should improve. There's mocks out there talking about them taking an offensive lineman in the first round and going like a Sam Howell, maybe trading up or something, but they will do something at quarterback and at offensive line. I promise you that. They are pretty much good everywhere else. I mean, their defense is still okay and they'll get healthier. But yeah, the only 2 things they really need is offensive line and quarterback. And it's a good class to hit one of those for the values that they have for their picks. So I think Najee's going to be just fine.
All right, James, talk to me about Najee.
I mean, with all those carries, over 300 carries, I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I mean, the quarterback situation does affect it big time. Tyler, you nailed it, the nail on the head there when you said the quarterback, because if they go for a more of a gunslinger type that doesn't like to drop back, or even a quarterback that likes to scramble around a little bit and take off running,
just name both of them.
Yeah. Like even the guy we were talking to pre-show, Matt Corral. If he decides to take off and run a lot, like that could lower Najee a little bit, but it all has to do with their offensive line being able to protect him and open it up the running game. Quarterback, offensive line, I can't disagree. Once again, I mean, the guy is electric. He's a grinder. He's going to continue to grind until they stop giving him the ball, which I don't see happening.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of a little bit of a Derrick Henry light, without the explosion. Like Derrick Henry can house one from 75. I haven't seen that from Naji just yet. Jonathan Taylor has that, but I don't know if Naji Harris has that. But he's a rookie. I mean, he was behind a bad line, so to be determined. Let's put it that way. Remember, Derrick Henry was behind with DeMarco Murray or whatever it was.
DeMarco Murray, and remember the Dion Lewis, Derrick Henry. Like, Dion Lewis is a better play.
Yeah. I like Dion Lewis, little scat back. Always fun little former Patriot. All right, so let's get to our RB4, the 8th overall, the former king of dynasty startups for the last 2 years, and that's Christian McCaffrey. So he's obviously fallen to the 108 in startups, and for good reason. Now, when he's on the field, McCaffrey's scoring over 20 fantasy points a game, but it's when he's on the field. I think he's played, a healthy 8 games over the last 2 years. So that's going to be the big bugaboo. And, the thing with McCaffrey was he was never really hurt at Stanford. And then the first few years of his career, he didn't miss time. And now the injuries are starting to pile up a little bit. So that's the concern with Christian McCaffrey. We all know what he can do when he's healthy. But I think when, the last 2 years, people are feeling a little snake bitten. And there's obviously a lot of questions with that Carolina team around the quarterback. Their offensive line was one of the worst in the league as well. So a lot of questions here with McCaffrey. He's 25 years old, not old by any means. He's part of that awesome 2017 class. We're going to talk about a few of them as we go through. But for me, McCaffrey at this point, this is a tough one because you can make an argument for buy, sell, or hold on this one. Ideally, what you should have done is sold McCaffrey a year or two ago, right? So I don't think you've completely missed a window. He's still the 8th overall player taken. But I'm interested to hear what you have, Tyler, on Christian McCaffrey.
Well, you talked about a year ago, and I know Garrett Price in UDPL, I had McCaffrey and I got Dobbins, and now what is 104? I got Amon-Ra St. Brown and a 204. So the trade turned out a little better because he did not do well because of injuries. So for me, that is what you could get for McCaffrey this past year. Last year was even higher, and the year before that was even higher. So you kind of see how running backs, the value can either just keep going down, or hey, you could get lucky. McCaffrey has a huge year, and his
no
value
position
rises.
hits a tipping point like running back.
Exactly. And McCaffrey for me at this point in his career, at the 10th, I think it's 10th overall in ADP, I'm not touching him just because he's had his second contract. That team looks like it could be a dumpster fire. And if it is,
McCaffrey talks about possibly trading him too.
Exactly. And McCaffrey could be one of those kind of turning journeyman type thing. And for me, like, I feel like if they were to get him down to like 150 carries, I know that's not much, but give him those targets, that's what I would want. I mean, for me, getting McCaffrey those 90-something targets a year, but
give him an Austin Eckler workload.
Bingo. And even maybe lighter than Austin Eckler this year, because Eckler had a huge workload for.
He touched the ball a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, getting McCaffrey down to that more of a passing down back type thing, and you can still use him on first and second down, but maybe drafting a big boy and kind of giving McCaffrey a little bit of a break. Chuba, we all thought he could be. I liked him, but
get that man a Mike Tolbert. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But then you'd have no touchdowns. That's the issue.
True. That is true. Yeah.
McCaffrey would have no touchdowns. Tolbert would have like 30. But yeah, McCaffrey here at 10, I'm selling. And until he gets to like a running back 2 territory for me, that's when I'll feel comfortable at buying at his price, because he's going to be 26 when season starts. So for me, you're kind of seeing the gears switch, kind of like, oh, let's get him to a more of a third down role.
Gotcha. James, what do you think about CMC? I have CMC rostered on in a few leagues, so I'm this is a tough one for me. So I want to hear what you have to say.
I don't have him anywhere, so there's no bias there. As far as startup ADP goes, I'm not taking Christian McCaffrey. Like Tyler said, he's about to be 26 for the 2022 season. That's not the kind of running back I want to build my franchise around. I want one of these younger guys, especially the guy coming next. But like the 2 years of injuries, back-to-back injuries, bad coaching situation. Like, I was all about it when Joe Brady was there, and I thought it was going to spark something, but Matt Rule canceled that. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time to get off of Christian McCaffrey. And if
Who's
you do
their
have
OC
him,
they're bringing in, by the way?
I don't know. I don't know who the new OC is. Did they hire somebody yet?
Old Giants head coach. I forgot his name.
Oh, don't say Ben McAdoo.
Yep. Ben McAdoo is the new OC for Carolina.
McAdoodle-doo?
He's
back.
My
God, what a crock.
Retread City.
McAdoodle-doo. So yeah, I am definitely selling Christian McCaffrey.
Wasn't he the coach when Barkley was great though?
Yeah, but he was
McAdoo
also the one. Oh gosh.
There is statistics.
He runs
that
one
show,
play, the draw. That's all he does is run the draw.
Statistics that show McAdoo is actually a good offensive coordinator, but he's a terrible head coach. That happens with a lot of people. So maybe, just maybe, this could be actually a slam dunk hire. But you know what? McAdoo is going to come in and just be like, well, who do I got? McCaffrey? Okay, we're going to run him into the ground. Wait, he's already been run into the ground? Okay.
Put him back in the grinder.
Yeah.
Put him back. We'll form him into a beef patty.
So I'm not taking anything away from CMC, but what I'm saying is, like, he doesn't deserve to be number 8 overall for startup ADP. I think that window it should be shut already. I wouldn't be relying on him to build a franchise around.
I mean, realistically, what do you think you can get? Like, you guys heard my deal.
Probably a first, and maybe a wide receiver 2.
2 firsts? Yeah, I think you could probably still get 2 firsts.
Yeah. I think right now with this class, you could get 101 plus, and that's in Superflex as well. Just because this class, I don't think is really outstanding or special, but I think the 101 plus, and I'd be happy with it, especially if you have many needs and like we talk about, you're rebuilding. That's a great move. Or get a wide receiver, trade him for a DK Metcalf who had an off year.
Yeah, or like a T Higgins plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love T Higgins. All right, let's move on to the running back 5 rookie season. Split carries with Melvin Gordon. It's Javonte Williams. His ADP is currently 11.6. And this is another one where it's, I mean, everyone is assuming that Melvin Gordon is out of the picture next year. Now, we all saw Javonte Williams. I think he led the league in yards after contact, if I think I saw that correct. The dangerous part of this is we're just assuming Melvin Gordon goes away. I don't know that he does. It worked really well for them to have the two of them, right? Unless Denver's like, get Melvin out of here. He makes too much money. He's a free agent. And, Javonte is there.
Hello,
or Melvin
Deshaun Watson.
Or Melvin fails to get a deal and then signs on the cheap for one more year. So I like Javonte Williams as much as the next guy, but RB5, 11th overall, like, whew. It's a spice. That's a spicy one in this one. So James, Jesus, the Chiefs just scored again. James, give me Javonte Williams. I think this is probably the most interesting pick.
It's spicy, but I'm eating it up. I'm eating up the spice. He's only 21 years old. Okay. Even if Melvin Gordon does come this year, that gives you a window where you might be able to get him a little bit on the inexpensive side. Not necessarily, but if you do it in the offseason now, you're going to be paying a pretty penny. The hype on Javonte is real, and I believe he lives up to the hype. We talk about DeAndre Swift being a pass catcher, not running too much in between the tackles. Christian McCaffrey being a pass catcher. Javonte Williams can do both. He can catch passes. I think he's Melvin Gordon plus, and we've seen Melvin Gordon at his ceiling be one of the top running backs.
He was an RB1 for multiple years. Yeah.
So
inefficient, but an RB1.
I don't see
still
him not. Like I said, only 21 years old. He's got plenty of years left. He's the youngest guy right now on this chart out of the top 30 running backs that we would talk
everyone
about.
else is 23, or
Cam Akers is 22. He'll be 23 next year. Javonte is young, and he is very talented, and I believe it continues. So, yeah, I think it's worth the price. If you're going to pay up, I'd rather be paying up for Javonte Williams than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, if you could flip McCaffrey, you could probably get Javonte plus a little bit on top, I think.
I think maybe.
If it's someone in the industry like us, maybe not. But if it's a home league, that McCaffrey name holds weight. So it could be doable. Tyler, Javonte.
Yeah, I think I'm with Chef. As much as I hate to admit it, Javonte. The thing is we're looking at startup prices. The startup prices. If you are not in a startup, I don't think you're going to have to pay that startup price. I think even in the upcoming draft, and say somebody falls in love with a Breece Hall, an Isaiah Spiller, or a Kenneth Walker, you could probably give that pick plus,
or a Kenneth Noisewater,
plus a wide receiver too, maybe even Gabe Davis plus that pick.
3 touchdowns today.
3 touchdowns tonight. So he's wide receiver 1.
My guy.
Is he ahead of Chris Conley yet? I mean, I
think he just passed Jamar Chase.
Oh, okay.
He's just right by him.
For me, Javonte, like I said, I don't think you got to pay that price. Denver's got to figure out that quarterback position. They will. They have to. John Elway's too stuck up to not fix that. I know he's not.
Elway's not a part of the division, part of the team really anymore, though.
That's what I mean. I mean, he's not really ahead of it, but people still feel the heat from him because it's John Elway. They hear him stomping around behind.
Well, they see him every game because he's on the side of their helmet. So
that, and he's also running with the team out, on the field before the team. Somebody on his back.
Yeah, let's keep it moving. I want to keep this list moving because here's another one, part of that 2017 class. An injury history, which to me hasn't been overly concerning, but I mean, you're starting to see the injuries add up for Dalvin Cook. We all know like Alexander Madison has been there for a while, and he takes over really well when Cook is out. So that's one of the out of anyone on this list, it's the clear, like if you own Dalvin Cook, you should own Alexander Madison as well, because
100%.
it makes a ton of sense. But
Doug.
I love Dalvin. He's my favorite running back in the league to watch. The things
Doug.
that what?
Dude, it feels like just yesterday, but yet so long ago, you and I were talking about how Dalvin should be the 101. Like that was the real talk. Everybody had Leonard Fournette, and Doug and I, Doug because his Florida State background and
watched every game of Dalvin Cook,
and me just because of the love I had for Cook, and of course he landed with Minnesota, but that was after the fact. But I mean, it feels good to see him here still after 5 years. So
yeah, and the thing with Dalvin, like, yes, he does get injured, but he's a tough kid. He gutted out that shoulder injury and had a 200. He had the most rushing yards in a game this year in the NFL. He had an injured shoulder and popped for 200 yards. Like, Dalvin Cook is insane. If you watch Dalvin Cook play running back, there's no one. The only person I think like him when he was getting the full share of carries was Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones runs a little bit like Dalvin, but Dalvin just does it on another level. So Dalvin Cook. Yeah, Dalvin Cook at RB6, 14 overall in your ADPs. He's 26 years old. You have to start to think, like, how many years does he have left? I get that. But I just think he's so insanely talented. I think he has a good 2 to 3 years left without a problem whatsoever. So I got no problem with him being here. And now we're going to get to see his brother be in the NFL too. So there's going to be too many Cooks. There's going to be his brother James Cook is going to be in the league as well, which is going to be fun. And a lot of people said, the two of them growing up, that James was actually better than Dalvin. And now he hasn't had the same type of
pass catcher, easily.
Right. But he hasn't had the same type of role at Georgia. So that's going to be super. He's going to be one of the guys that I need to really dig deep into and figure that out. But Tyler, you're the Minnesota fan. You have Dalvin Love just like I do. Like, this is a buy, sell, hold at RB6, 14 overall.
So for me, people are going to see the age. He's going to be 27 this season. So once a running back hits 27, people see it and they're instantly off. I mean, you could get a first if you're lucky, but for me, Dalvin is a hold and just hold him like that. That's for me. There's a few players like Julio Jones is a player that if I had him through the years, I'm holding him until he got traded, but I'm holding him close and he's just going to be on my roster until he retires.
Would you hold him close and would you like nuzzle him?
Yes.
Okay.
And Dalvin is one of those players. If I have him, I'm holding him.
Ride him till the wheels fall off.
Yep, exactly. I'm just keeping him until he's retired. And like you said, you probably have Alexander Madison on that roster because for me, any roster I've ever seen Cook on, I usually see Madison on, and they usually either drafted him or they paid a high second or somewhere around there just to have him.
Gabe Davis. 4 touchdowns.
Okay.
Yep. 4 touchdowns, Gabe Davis.
I just want to apologize for people. We're having this podcast in one of the greatest games ever. One of the greatest playoff games ever.
This weekend's been bonkers.
201 and 4 touchdowns for Gabe Davis.
So for me, screw all the talk. Gabe Davis, running back
real.
1.
Running back one. Wide receiver 1.
Wow. So for me, Dalvin Cook, like I said, he's
also Tyrann Mathieu out.
Hold, and you just keep close to you, and that's it.
I might be a little on the other side of that conversation because I am a big Dalvin Cook truther.
Nope.
A couple years ago, I listened to your podcast.
Please.
And I have a lot of shares of Dalvin Cook. And for the most part, yeah, I'm holding. But if you get the chance to cash out, like last season, I got 2 first-round picks. I believe I got the 103 and the 105, which turned into Kyle Pitts and Travis Etienne. Now, would you turn that down for Dalvin Cook?
No,
if you have multiple shares, you're going to diversify a little bit and not just wait and see.
Wu-Tang Financial taught me about diversifying.
So
exactly.
For me, yeah, that's a slam dunk deal. But every year the price gets lower. So if we're talking about now, it's not happening. I mean, we talked about McCaffrey and how the price dropped. Dalvin Cook, you ain't getting any higher. So if you do want to get out, now is the time because his price will keep dropping. He's going to be 27, but his price, him on your team is worth more than what you're going to get in trade value. So for me, he's a hold. And hey, mid-season, week 3, week 4, when he blows up, that could be a good time to trade him to contender if your team is quote unquote rebuilding.
Yeah, and I also think his value is a little lower right now too. Because how many touchdowns did Dalvin score this year?
Not many.
3. It wasn't a lot. It was in the low single digits if I remember correctly. Where's my orders?
8.
Where's ours?
8.
Did he have 8 total?
8
That's
total.
not.
No, I'm sorry, 6. 6 total.
Yeah, that's not a lot for Dalvin.
0
Cook.
receiving touchdowns this season.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
And also another issue. I mean, Kirk could be gone.
And Madison is looking more confident catching the ball out of the backfield. So
Madison
I think they
is
split reps a little bit.
Madison's the future. I mean, Madison is still pretty young. I would not be shocked if they do sign Madison to a low-end deal to keep him on the team. But there's rumors right now flying around that Deshaun Watson could be playing for Minnesota, depending on their head coach and all that.
He likes Justin Jefferson. I mean, I won't blame him.
Minnesota could deal Kirk in a first and probably some other pieces to get Watson back, or they, ship Kirk to somebody else. They get Watson. Yeah, I mean, there's rumors right now flying around that Watson could be a team that in Minnesota could be a team Watson lands on. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 more 2017 running backs back to back here. So 3 in a row. First, Dalvin Cook at the RB6, 14 overall ADP. Next is Alvin Kamara, RB7, 17th overall ADP. I think they're both in similar boats. I like Alvin Kamara a lot. He won championships for people in 2020 with that 6 touchdown game, which was great. Now this year they used him like a bell cow back for the first time. Like he was averaging like 20 rushes a game, I think, on the season in the games that he did play in, and he looked good doing it. The questions with Kamara is who's the quarterback? Like, is Michael Thomas ever going to play for them again?
No.
Or is it just going to be Alvin Kamara and log out? And I think he can handle that, but I think it would help him if they were to get some help at quarterback. The offensive line is good and get some other pieces because their offense was just him. Callaway's not the dude. Like Traquan Smith put that thing to bed. Yeah. So Alvin Kamara, for me at this point, I think similar to Cook, like I'm holding Cook, maybe buying him if I'm a win now team. Kamara, I think I'm in the same boat with him. So, James, what do you think about Alvin and the Chipmunks?
I think he's a buy this season. After last year, 21 total touchdowns, I think you could buy him a little bit cheaper than you could, obviously, last season. We don't know the quarterback situation. I don't think they stick with Taysom Hill. I think they actually bring somebody else in.
I heard Deshaun Watson might go there.
And the wide receivers are pretty much garbage. Sorry. Not sorry.
They're drafting a receiver.
But this season was like the first and you use this when you go out and you're trying to acquire Alvin Kamara, turn around and say, hey, listen, he lost a step. He didn't even break 4 yards per carry this season. He had 240 attempts.
He was injured.
And he had less yardage than he did the season prior. So I use those tools in the statistics and let the statistics tell your lie a little bit, because he's still got the juice. He's still worth fantasy value. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's the same as Dalvin Cook. Obviously, we talked about Dalvin Cook earlier, but 17 overall in a dynasty startup, yeah, I take Alvin Kamara there. And if I'm competing, I'm trying to buy him low right now.
Yeah, I like that. Tyler, what do you think about the cameraman?
So for me, Alvin Kamara, he's a guy that doesn't feel like he's going to decline quickly. We haven't really seen it. The thing for me with Alvin Kamara is he's smooth. He's not crazy fast. He's got some explosiveness, but it's his smoothness. He's smart. He's smooth in between the tackles. And he gets in the space and he doesn't burn people. He's an easy runner. It's almost like he's gliding. So for me, I think Alvin Kamara's actually got like 2-3 years of solid football left. I mean, Doug, you and I traded for him in our title run, and we both agreed we're like 2 to 3 more solid years of Kamara is just fine.
I'm curious. You just ruined it for me. Thanks.
Nuts.
So yeah, like I said, we are very sorry.
When you said easy runner, the first thing I thought of was either Phil Collins or Genesis with "He's an easy runner."
God, you are so outdated.
Someone knows what that song is. Go.
Yeah, probably our oldest listeners. Shout out
"Easy
to
Lover" by Phil Collins, I believe. Maybe Genesis. I don't know.
Shout out to Zach Tacit Assassin and also our senior home assisted living people. You guys would get that.
Nice.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara to me is, I agree with James. He's a buy. His value is so low. He's going to be 27 as well. They got to get a quarterback. I mean, there's talks they're going to draft a receiver in the first round. They could be a team that gets Allen Robinson. Who knows? But it is definitely not Taysom Hill. They'll probably put him back at tight end. And Jameis, who knows what's gonna happen with him?
Like I said last week, I thought he played well. All right, let's move on to our last 2017 running back. It's Joe Mixon is the RB8. He finally had that season that everyone has been predicting for a long time. He was second in the NFL in rushing yards. He hit double-digit touchdowns, made the Pro Bowl. Like, Joe Mixon had a great season. He wasn't as active in the passing game as most would like, but it wasn't bad. And Mixon, he's in the same boat. He's a little bit younger than Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. He plays in the best offense out of those three. Obviously, we know what Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. With Joe Mixon, that's going to be a good unit for a while now. So you could make an argument that Mixon should be over Dalvin Cook and be the RB6 instead of the RB8 with the 18 overall ADP. I've liked Joe Mixon for a long time. I've always liked his running style. Again, he's another guy that he misses some games here and there, but plays through injuries like Dalvin Cook does, it seems. So Joe Mixon, I think with the Bengals' future being bright, I think that actually gives Joe Mixon, who's on a second contract, so he's going to be there for a bit. I think that gives him maybe the brightest future out of this cluster of 2017 running backs. Tyler, what do you think about that?
Oh man, I like it, but for me, Joe Mixon, I have trouble with Joe Mixon. I had him in a couple leagues this year, and I traded him, and I did it because I don't know. Like, for me, like, he has those huge games, and then like he was actually quite consistent this year. But every other year, you just didn't feel great sometimes. Like, he was a 38-yard type guy, no touchdowns, got you nothing. And then he had his boom weeks. Joe Mixon, to me, I think is a sell at this price. I would rather refresh at the running back position. Joe Mixon, like you said, he's got a Le'Veon Bell-esque type running style. He's very patient. He's not gonna burn you or anything. He's not gonna bust that big play like Jonathan Taylor, but he's patient. And he's got a heck of a stiff arm. He's good in the passing game. But for me, I'm going to hit that refresh button, and I'm probably going to sell for like 2 first if I can.
All right, James, what do you got on the cement mixer?
The cement mixer? I'm not getting that analogy, but
Mixon.
Mixing it up.
The bartender would have been better.
I mean, he's one of those flexible guys that you can either acquire. I mean, I'm not really trying to go out and spend a ton on him. Like, last year was the year to get him before he really blew up. This year had a great season. That window has shut. So if I have him on a squad, I think I'm holding. The Cincinnati Bengals, they have really turned that organization around. They are going to look to add to that offensive line this year and the years coming.
Will it take a receiver over that offensive line?
I don't think they have anywhere to put another receiver on that offense, Tyler. But yeah, Joe Mixon, I mean, if you get a king's ransom for him, you can let him go. Otherwise, yeah, right here on his ADP of 18, I like that. That's great value for him. And I think he can carry your team as an RB1 for the next at least 2 seasons. I don't see any competition in the backfield for him. I mean, Samaje Perine's not the answer. We all know that. So, yeah, Mixon's good. I like Mixon.
Yeah, as do I. So let's stick with the AFC North and go to our next running back on the list. It's RB9, 19 overall ADP. It's Nick Chubb, signed a long-term deal. There's whispers that Kareem Hunt could be on the move, possibly. We don't know. Obviously, the frustrating thing with Nick Chubb is like he's not active in the passing game. So there's another running back that we have not heard his name yet, who's also not super active in the passing game that I thought would be higher on this list. But he's not. We'll get to him later, I'm sure. But Nick Chubb is RB9. This is an interesting one for me because I like Nick Chubb as a running back. I think he's one of the funnest players to watch.
The best runner. Pure runner.
He's right up there. But
pure runner.
The thing about Nick Chubb is that he's going to have to score 15 touchdowns and run for 1,500 yards, but not do much to the passing game. So I think that's maybe why his ADP is settled in where it is at RB9. He runs behind probably one of the best offensive lines on this whole list. Obviously, questions at quarterback going forward. Baker's going to be there next year. So Nick Chubb's an interesting one. So James, give me the Chubb lub on Nick Chubb.
I still love Chubb. I'm not getting off of him. I'm not selling
I'm gonna buy
him.
you a shirt that says "I love Chubb."
I love Chubb. All right, yeah, let's do
Not
it.
getting off Chubb.
You know, we could sell it to our listeners on Viridian Global. But no, every season this guy plays, he's over 1,000 yards. He's over 5.5 yards per carry. Yes, his touchdowns took a hit this year a little bit. That was partially because of Baker not being able to push the ball down the field, all banged up. But it's a run-first offense. And with Stefanski at the helm, I don't see it changing. Maybe just keep getting better. And if Kareem Hunt leaves, great. You know, I think that benefits Chubb even more. And if Kareem Hunt's there, that's fine too, because Nick Chubb was still great when Kareem Hunt was on the field. So I don't see a problem with Chubb. It's a great position to pick him up. Do I see him as a league winner? He may never hit that because he doesn't have the pass catching ability as some of the other guys that we mentioned before him. But other than that, I think he's worth a spot on your roster. And if you can acquire him this offseason, I don't see a problem with it.
Tyler, Chubb, talk to me.
Yeah, I think his value is really low, and his face value from the season is pretty low to the point where I would buy. Man, think about this. In a startup, you go Jonathan Taylor because you're going for it all, and you pick up Nick Chubb in the next round. You got Taylor and Chubb. Yeah, that's
a tailor-made Chubb right there.
Tailor-made Chubb,
pretty much. For me, Chubb is a perfect running back 2 for your team. You don't need to depend on him for that huge game, but you know what? He can get you that big game because we all seen it. When he's in the open field, he's a big man. You can't tackle him, and before you know it, when you try to tackle him, he's running right past. Yeah, Chubb, I think, has longevity as well. We've seen a little bit of injuries, so it actually has helped his carry total stay lower. Because me personally, I think Cleveland wants him at 275, 300 carries. And if he's at that, he would be a league winner. He'd be at 1,700 yards and 15 touchdowns because he's had that many opportunities to break off big runs. I think he's in for a big year next year, personally. I could see a career year for him next year when that offensive line is healthy, Baker's healthy, they get some weapons on the outside to pull away from that running game. And you know what? If they do get rid of Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson's a fine running back, but I don't think he's at the talent that Kareem Hunt is to take away touches from Chubb. So I think they paid Chubb. They want to give him the carries. That's why we're kind of seeing the Kareem Hunt rumors floating around. So at face value, Nick Chubb is a massive buy right now.
I like it. So let's move on to James's favorite team, the New York Giants. This is a polarizing one because not too long ago, Saquon Barkley was the overall 101 or the 102. You know, between him and McCaffrey, it was back and forth. You know, pick a poison, right? Now he's an ADP of 20 overall. He's the RB10. Saquon, about the same age as Naji Harris, so it's not an age thing, but we've seen him with the ACL. We've seen him with the hamstring, high ankle sprain. We've seen him try to run behind a terrible line. Devontae Booker looked like the better running back at times this season. We all know that his test scores are through the roof, to the moon. Saquon Barkley has shown us what he can do with a pretty much like a 2,000 yard from scrimmage season. But a lot of people fear that those days are over and they're never going to be back again. So James, you're a Giants fan. You're plugged into the team. What's your take here on Saquon Barkley?
And that's exactly how I feel. Like he's not going to be what he was in his rookie season. Too many changing of the guards, too many offenses that have gone through the day. Like, listen, they're getting a new GM. They're going to get a new
good one
head coach, most likely. And their offensive line is still a disgrace, and their quarterback play is still a disgrace. So I don't see it changing for Saquon. I don't miraculously see it, unless they're running the ball 300 times a game, which he may not be able to handle because we've seen him go down the past 2 years, similar to Christian McCaffrey. So he's more of that pass catching back, and that's how they used him when he came back this season, as the pass catching back. He's not a grinder anymore. I don't trust him. and I'm not having him on my dynasty rosters. I'm sorry. So if you can find someone to sell, I'm selling Saquon Barkley. I am off of him.
Tyler, what say you?
First of all, I want to say I'm sorry,
goodness.
Buffalo Bills fans.
Oh.
And I mean, it was a great game.
Damn
but for
it.
me, Barkley is a smash buy. I mean, 24 years old, going into a contract year. He's finally a year after out of his ACL. What do we always say? Not the year after, but the year after that, you buy the running back because it takes.
Unless you're Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, unless you're Adrian Peterson, which you just get a new bionic leg and all that stuff. You get fully upgraded chip in your head. And,
it's like Boba Fett. Like you just use like some Android parts.
Yeah, and then you go in that sleeping tank. Yeah, for me, this is a smash buy. His value's never been lower, ever. I've never seen him here, in my opinion. So for me, Barkley, the GM is the Bills' assistant GM, who actually helped build the Bills team, who just sadly lost to the Chiefs. The Bills' offense is great. They took second-round draft picks for offensive linemen and made them good. Andrew Thomas showed a ton of promise this year. He looked really good compared to his rookie year, which he looked like the worst pick in Giants history. Kadarius Toney's going to be back. It's a who knows if it's Daniel Jones or if it's going to be somebody else. For me, this is the opportunity to buy Barkley. It's his contract year. I would not be shocked if the Giants re-sign him just because of that draft capital. And I mean, when he's healthy, he's played well. In my opinion, Barkley's going to demand touches. It's his contract year. He's going to be fully healthy. Finally, about 18 months or so after the ACL. For me, it's a slam dunk. The ankle injury showed that it hurt him, and then he looked better towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
For me, Barkley at this price, this specific price, is just a no-brainer buy.
All right, let's move on to our next player. We got two more, and then we'll do like a quick round robin, and then we'll get you guys out of here. So the next one is Austin Eckler, who was the RB2 on the season, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
He had 20 touchdowns. He's all the way down at RB11. Maybe it's because he's a little bit older, but he's the same age as Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara and Nick Chubb. So is Austin Eckler being a little disrespected at the 25th overall pick at RB11? Because to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe it's because he's a smaller guy, but again, another guy who's pretty tough. They didn't use him a ton. He was super efficient. He's going to play in a really good offense with Justin Herbert at his quarterback. The offensive line is getting better. To me, Austin Eckler, I would actually have him ranked above Barkley and maybe even, say Chubb or Mixon? Like,
yes.
I would have him right by Dalvin Cook.
Right ahead of Kamara.
Yeah. Right ahead of Kamara. And if I was a Christian McCaffrey owner, I'm trading McCaffrey for Eckler plus easily.
I like that. I mean, Eckler with the PPR value alone, the way he catches passes, and Herbert's not afraid to target him a ton. Yeah. So I think we can all agree that Austin Eckler is a buy.
A huge buy at this price.
Yeah. And for all those reasons ahead. Now, I want to get to the last one in our RB12 that's going to wrap up our top 12 here. It's the 26th ADP. This one to me is a bit of a shocker. RB12 is Jk Dobbins. Now, I know a lot of people like Dobbins coming out of Ohio State. He had a solid rookie season, sharing time with Gus Edwards. Now, he tears his ACL. He'll be back and fine. But the thing that always concerned me about Dobbins is Lamar does not throw to running backs. And if Gus Edwards is still there, which I believe he's going to be,
yes,
I could not put Jk Dobbins as an RB1. I just can't. So I think this is an egregious ranking. And to have Derrick Henry at RB16, give me Henry 2 more solid years of Henry over Dobbins. Like, I understand Dobbins is younger. There's potential there, but I don't know that they're ever going to use him the way we want them to. That's my argument.
I'm going to jump in there and face that argument. And I like it. We saw the offense switch this year. Lamar was on pace to throw for over 4,000 yards this season at the first half of the season. I think it continues in 2022. And this offense changes, and it benefits Jk Dobbins in the passing game. They have Gus Edwards there, which will take away some of that work. But just like we talked about Nick Chubb, I think Dobbins can do it all, and he's only 23 years old. So I think I would take Dobbins over Derrick Henry. Um, and all these other guys around him, like they're all pretty much the same class except for Elijah Mitchell, who is down the list a little bit. But I'm a big fan of Dobbins. I always love the running style. He's perfect in the RPO system, and it was unfortunate that he went down to injury this year. But I think he comes back and he melts some faces. I would have Dobbins over Barkley personally.
Really? Okay. I almost called you Travis. Tyler. Give me Jk Dobbins. Are you pro? Are you anti? At this price, if he's at this, is a sell.
Yeah, this is a sell. I mean, we haven't really seen him. This is based off of hope. And you say Lamar threw that many times. Well, we did not see Rashad Bateman get involved as much. Mark Andrews had a massive year. Marquise Brown was hurt half the year. Those targets still need to get distributed that way. And we still have not seen Lamar throw to the running back. I get he was on pace for that. I didn't see him throwing to the running back more. Devonta Freeman, there's one hope. Devonta Freeman looked really good in this offense. And if that's the case, Jk Dobbin should look like Walter Payton in this offense because Devonta Freeman did not have it. I mean, he's gone, the prime of Devonta Freeman. So for me, that's the hope of Jk Dobbins. Now, Gus Edwards is coming back. That puts a wrench in the whole entire thing. Gus Edwards is a good running back as well.
He is.
They both had the same injury. It all depends on how they recover. My opinion is Dobbins has a little more youth to him, so he has more time to recover from this injury because year one, it's usually a little bit of a mess. It was with Delvin. It was with everybody except the aforementioned Adrian Peterson. So for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I'd rather have Elijah Mitchell than Jk Dobbins. I've seen it from Elijah Mitchell. I've seen that offense want to give him the ball as much as we want Dobbins to get the ball. So for me, I am all for Dobbins. I'm excited to see him, but at this price, I'm all for selling him.
Gotcha. All right,
and Mike, it was not an Achilles. It was an ACL.
ACL, yeah.
Justice Hill was an Achilles.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot. Do you remember Justice Hill? I remember.
I remember Justice Hill.
Yeah. Anywho, so let's wrap this up, and I want you guys to each give me one of the running backs we haven't talked about in the top 12. Give me that guy when you're looking at the ADP on Dynasty League football where it sticks out to you, and you go, "I want to
talk about Michael Carter quick first for your guy."
That was my guy. That was my guy at RB.
I know it is.
At RB24, 67 overall. Michael Carter, who right behind his college teammate Javonte Williams, had the second most. Was it missed tackles per touch, or there's some metric out there that Michael Carter and Javonte Williams smashed this year, and I think it was like missed tackles, forced missed tackles. Michael Carter is a screaming buy for me. I love what I saw from Michael Carter this season. The Jets, Tevin Coleman's going to be gone. LaMichael Pirines not a thing. Ty Johnson, they had no faith in him whatsoever. That team's only going to get better, and they're going to give Michael Carter 20 touches a game. Mark my words, Michael Carter will be in the conversation as a fringe RB1 next year for DLF ADP at the running back position.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'll give my guy. And for me, I want to talk about Elijah Mitchell quick. I'm sold. I think he's the dude. I was not in on James Robinson. So I'm not about like he's a free agent late round guy. I'm not that type of guy. I was all about selling Robinson. For me, Elijah Mitchell looks like the dude. He is so good in this offense. He fits it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sold on him. So if you can get him for a late first, go for it. The guy I want to talk about is Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs to me, huge buy. What is he here? He is
RB22 ADP of 59.
Yeah, I mean, he's an RB2, a nice RB2 for your team. He got involved in the passing game a lot more than we
realized.
Late
in the season, his involvement was very good.
And you know what? If John Harbaugh were to become the coach, look what he did with Michigan's running back. He loves to ground and pound. So for me, Josh Jacobs could be that guy. And this coming year could be the year without John Gruden and a different John comes in. John Harbaugh, or is it no Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah,
comes in.
John's in Baltimore.
Yeah. What if they both? I mean, no, let's start a rumor. No.
Oh God.
Jim Harbaugh coming in. He loves to ground and pound. He loves that style game. We saw it in San Francisco. That, in my opinion, that's the head coach of the Oakland Raiders next year is Harbaugh. So Jacobs to me is a easy buy.
Easy like Sunday morning. James, who's your guy when you look at this list and he stands out to you and you go, I want to go get him.
Well, I want to go get him. AJ Dillon. He just got nicked up, so that's perfect.
He hurt
buying
ribs.
time.
How do you actually hit him that hard to where he breaks a rib?
That hard. And
I find it funny. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are right next to each other.
Yeah, let me set the scene. Yeah. Aaron Jones is RB20. AJ Dillon is RB21 on this list. And I would have AJ Dillon 10 times out of 10 over Aaron Jones for the simple fact.
Maybe 8 times out of 10.
Well, I mean, Aaron Jones, you can sell him. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know,
he had
finished running back
8
5
catches last night.
We don't know what the quarterback scene is going to be. And if it's Jordan Love, I want AJ Dillon because AJ Dillon is going to get you those tough goal line yards. Aaron Jones isn't going to do it, and he's not going to do it forever. There's a 4-year difference between the two. AJ Dillon is the guy I want to see. He's catching more passes out of the backfield.
Back fat.
Dylan.
Back fat? Is that a throwback?
I love
Fortnite?
how you guys talk crap when I'm doing my stuff. You know, you come down to Jersey, I'm going to teach you how to talk right. All right.
I'll throw a hoagie at you.
Yeah. But AJ Dillon, I've loved him out of Boston College, and he's continuing to get better and progress for fantasy purposes. His rookie year was a down year. There was a buying window, and he's shown progress. I think there is still a buying window for AJ Dillon, and I am doing it now. Before any news comes out about Aaron Rodgers, I am pushing the button.
I 100% agree with the Jordan Love thing. I like Jordan Love as a buy in Superflex, but in my opinion, if Rodgers is gone, they're becoming a run-first team.
Yep.
They're going to be like the 49ers with Jimmy G. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to pound the ball with AJ Dillon. They're going to give him 25 carries a game. Aaron Jones is going to be there. You know what he's going to do? They're going to be what we want Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, we want Christian McCaffrey to turn into. We saw Aaron Jones' future, I think, this weekend, which is catching a lot of passes and getting 8 or 10 carries, which is just fine to me. So both of them, in my opinion, with their face value, both of them are buys because Aaron Jones is left for dead with his age.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be back for blood for next season. Who knows?
Yeah.
Those video game nerds out there, you know what I'm talking about. All right, that is going to wrap us up this week at the always fun to talk about running back position. Next week, we're going to be doing wide receivers, everybody's favorite dynasty position, because they're so good for so long. It's true.
And how CeeDee Lamb is what? Should we say wide receiver 24 according to Twitter? Twitter has CeeDee Lamb hate all over.
I hope they update this list for Gabriel Davis. He should definitely be inside the top 12 by now.
I have Gabriel Davis in a couple of dynasty leagues, and I'm like, ooh.
Top 2? Sorry.
Top 2.
I lowballed it.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson or Gabe Davis?
Gabe Davis.
It's got to be Davis. Recency bias tells me Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, Jefferson never scored 4 touchdowns in a 200-yard game. Come on.
Yeah, right?
Never happened.
Against the Chiefs? Come on.
He's got Josh Allen long-term. He's on a rookie Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
Jefferson doesn't even have that much playoff
and
experience.
He's the first Gabriel to score 4 touchdowns in a playoff game.
Quick fact check. I believe that is accurate. So
yeah.
Well, that is going to wrap us up this week. We are going to talk about wide receivers next week. I want to thank our sponsors, Fantasy Points Media Group, as well as Trophy Smack, and James alluded to it earlier, Viridian Global. If you're looking for any DHH merch, it's all on there. Check it out. For James, for Tyler, I'm Doug. We'll see you next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.
Go get that ring. Go do it.
I'm going to hit you.